Hi there, you're listening to a podcast that's created and sponsored by Second Avenue Baptist Church. If you enjoy what you hear today, check out our website and app by visiting secondavenuembc.org. You can find our mobile app and tons more content, podcasts, sermons, and more by searching for Second Avenue on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. With that being said, let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome to episode 43 of Decision Point. Today will be quite a bit different. I wanted to give you guys updates on what had happened over the last month or so, actually, a little over a month or so, including some expansion projects we're doing to our church, which we've been talking about for the last few weeks, and of course, the mission trip to the Philippines. And I will start off briefly with what's happening at the church and new exciting steps that and thank you for your prayers for that, first of all, because we are in the middle of expanding our church because of God has blessed us with growth. Number one, spiritually. I just want to tell you how much God has blessed our church in all departments with unity and growth in the Word. But also that has spilled over into numbers of our church increasing. Now, we're not bragging and boasting in numbers, but we are thankful for the people that God has brought to Second Avenue Missionary Baptist Church in our main services, in our children and youth programs that have come alongside and wanted to grow with us in the direction that God has taken our church and the ministries that we have here providing. We have had to increase the youth capacity, our youth room for capacity. And so what God has allowed us to do is combine 4 small Sunday school rooms into one large room, which will accommodate our youth for this moment until a new building is built. We'll talk about that in a few moments. And it will serve, once the youth has transitioned out of that facility, into the permanent Sunday school room for our children's growth in Sunday school from Sunday mornings. It has been a long project, knocking down temporary walls that were erected many, many years ago, pulling up all flooring, repatching and resealing and repainting and retexturing all of the walls to make this into one solid room. And we want to thank all of those, there's too many to name, that have spent their time and effort and in prayer for those who could not be there, making this project happen. It has been multiple weeks, about 2 months in the process, and it looks like we're coming down to the last few weeks in getting that all finished and that issue for right now resolved in the crunch that it was for the youth to meet in the room that they had. God, continue to pray for the youth group as they continue to grow and minister. In this room will be a little bit more of a space available, at least, for more growth coming up and more events that we can do, including using that room for fellowship as well. So a multi-purpose room if there ever was one. And then for our building, we had a couple of goals set. The project of tearing down an existing fellowship hall that's in need of great repair and probably not even salvageable in the next couple of years because of foundational issues that are arising and leakage and water issues. We'll be tearing that down, and that it can begin as early as next year to build a new multi-purpose center, which will host, of course, a gymnasium, and that will serve as a multi-purposed floor, of course, for activities that will have fellowships, meal times, gatherings, and potentially the floor for a while for the new sanctuary, if God continues to growth or allow the growth that we have, to at least renovate or even have to build a new sanctuary in the next coming few years. But that multipurpose building will serve for the sanctuary for a while, if that is the direction that God continues to take Second Avenue. But with that, there will be a new kitchen, new classrooms, other smaller rooms that will be converted into multi-use rooms as well for things like weddings and events and small Bible studies, that God has really impressed upon us that we'll do at Second Avenue, using it for ministry and for teaching purposes as well from Sunday school to Wednesday nights. Our first initial goal was $100,000. And as of the recording of this moment, we reached that goal last week. At the end of last month, we surpassed that goal. And now our next goal is to raise $250,000, which should pay for the foundational work, getting a slab poured, getting everything ready for the building to be erected. So if you would please continue to pray that God brings in the funds as necessary in His timing. Of course, we want the building as soon as possible to continue what God is doing here, but we know that no matter what our desires are, that if this is of God, that He will send the money in His time, through His people, by whatever means He decides. But we want to be ready to utilize that and be a part of giving in that area. So if God is impressing your heart to give, you can always go to secondavenuembc.org or on our app, and you can give directly to multifaceted areas, but the building project being one of those to help us reach our goal in ministry. And some other things in our church that have been going on. There have been multiple deaths of members, both young and old. And I just ask that you continue to pray for those who are suffering because of what has happened, loss in their families, loss of friends, mothers, grandmothers, sisters, ministers, people in our church that were part of ministries have gone on to be with the Lord. And please pray for the remaining of those who remain of their family, that they can continue to serve, and God just lift them up in this time of need, in this time of hurting that they're going through. And finally, last but not absolutely least, our mission trip to the Philippines. We call it a mission trip, but every 2 years, the pastor, Brother Paul Denny, since he's been here, has taken himself and a couple others over to visit our missionary, Brother Arnold Sobrabis, in Buroy, Llano del Norte, Philippines. It's the southernmost island of the group of chain of islands that make up the country of the Philippines. Brother Arnell has been a missionary there for many, many years, working faithfully. And this year, Brother Paul, Brother Tim Moody, our music director, myself, and Brother Ben Denny, pastor's son and our IT director here, were able to go over, and on a personal ticket, Ben's wife, Hannah Denny, who is Brother Arnell's daughter, was able to go and visit home for the first time in a long while. So it was a blessing for the ministerial standpoint and for the family. But while we were there, we were able to participate in the organization of the mission to which we supported, and its organization turning into its own self-sustaining church, where they called Brother John Mark Cicero as their new pastor. And now they are under, of course, they've always been under God's care, but now on their own. They're no longer dependent upon a mission group helping support, but God has blessed that mission, that work over there, and we're so proud of them in a godly way, not in an arrogant way, but very proud that they were able to organize to become their own church, their own ministry. That is still the location where the seminary is housed. And we just love Brother John Mark and know that he's going to do a wonderful job there as he leads that new church in all the ways that they will go according to his will. And we were also able to participate in the graduation ceremony of the seminary students who received their bachelor degree in theology to become pastors in other areas of the Philippines. And we are so excited and happy for those graduates this year to be able to go on, and some of them will continue their education through the seminary, earning their master's degree, which I am so happy that myself and Brother Paul Denny will be involved in online, teaching and ministering to them. And so it's just so many great things and exciting things going on through the church locally here in Corsicana, but extended around the world through the love and support and prayer of those who are following His will. And I just pray that our church will live up to its name as a missionary church, putting our funds, our prayer, our hearts to the mission that God has called us to change lives for Him, locally and around the world. Well, please continue to be in prayer for us and all that go on here. We love you, and we thank you for your support, and looking forward to joining you next week for another Decision Point.
Thank you for listening today, and if you enjoyed what you heard, consider leaving us a 5-star rating and review. It will help us reach more people just like you who need to hear this message. Also remember that you can stay connected with us by downloading our mobile app. Just search for Second Avenue spelled out on the App Store or Google Play Store. Thank you again for listening, and God bless.